Hey everybody, I hope that you're doing well. I'm excited to do another reading journal update, this time for October. I absolutely love my reading journal and I'm so glad that you guys enjoy these videos. I am starting off with my little book covers. I can't believe I am so close to the bottom of this spread. I don't know how I would add on some books. I really don't know. So we'll have to figure that out at some point because I might need more room at the end of November or middle of December. I also finished up the last book for my shelf, and I'm now going to use the spare page that I made, and that way I can add in the books. I read a total of 11 books, and I counted 2 of the books that I read with my daughter. She wanted to do a Caldecott book club with the school librarian, and she said to me, "Hey mom, can we read these books together like old times?" So we read those 2 and then some others. So we read a total of like 5 or 6. So I only counted 2 towards my goal. I don't know. I'm weird about that. I only wanted to count 2 of the kids' books, but I did remember to update my monthly faves, and I added in August, September, and also October. August, I picked the Viscount Who Loved Me. September was Lessons in Chemistry, and October, The Girl Who Drank the Moon. And I'm going to update Goodreads with 11, and I think that puts me at very close to finishing my goal. I'll explain why my little setup for Goodreads kind of goofed me up later on. I'll explain that because it messed me up when I went to go count something for my stats page. I added 10 books to the paper section and 1 to the Kindle, added 5 more romance books, and then 1 adult book. I also didn't get any letters. I have really weird letters left, C, K, and Q, and an X and a Z. So I have those left. I'm going to update my year of smut. I have the book, The Deal, to add to the April, May, June section for a hockey romance. I'm determined. I mean, I have like a month and a half to finish one of these bingo cards. I mean, there's 4 of them, and I'm hoping I can at least finish one of them. I'm also adding the October, November, December printout, and it printed a little smaller. I have no idea why, but it did, and that's fine. I'm not going to throw it like I did last time when I added in the last section. I'm gonna keep it, whatever. Sometimes these things just don't behave and I just have to go with it. So I glued it down, added the flap, also stamped in faves, and then 3 little boxes to add in the book covers for my faves. I decided to count the romance Thank You for Listening as set in an office, because it is set in an office. It's like this giant office building where they can all use a different cubicle, rent out a cubicle to do their different work. I also have 3 other romance books. You can see the covers kind of off to the side that I have, but I can't figure out if they fit into any of the challenges, and I'm just going to think it over. I stamped my rating for the books with the star. I also added yes, I love you, and that's going on the July, August, September section since it had a U in the title. I also added in Rate the Romance, gave 5 stars. I added in The Bodyguard. So I decided to add that one in, even though Rate the Romance just read that book this month, but whatever. I'm counting it. It's my challenge, right? I'm stamping 4.5 stars for Thank You for Listening. I really enjoyed that book. It was a good one. And then after this, I can go on to the Bloom Challenge and add 3 books. So this means I have more than halfway. I added number 2, Scandalized, written under a pen name, Ivy Owens. I think I think it's Christina or Lauren from the duo Christina and Lauren. Also added in the Newbery Award book, which was The Girl Who Drank the Moon. And then Coming of Age Story is the Saturday Night Ghost Club, but that is for this month. I didn't get to finish it in October, but I finished it on November 1st. But I printed it ahead of time. Now I'm moving on to making my October calendar, and I just count over 3 boxes and try my best to line them up. I'm always second guessing myself. I think I've mentioned this as someone with anxiety. I tend to overthink things, and even though this is my 10th month, I'm flipping back constantly to make sure that I'm doing this right. So I'm trying my best here to get things straight, and I'm gonna wind up goofing and counting 2 dots, and then I just get out my white jelly roll pen so that way I can kind of scribble over it and white it out. And you can still see it a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter? No. So we're just going to keep moving forward and have fun making this project. And once I add everything, you're really not going to be able to tell too much. I did make too small of a box for Saturday and Sunday. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe I needed to add some more dots. Who knows, you guys? I don't know. I can rethink all of this when I think about how I'm going to put together next year's reading journal and maybe somehow make the journal just a little bit bigger. I am going to, of course, do October spooky colors, even though I didn't read that many spooky books. I remember telling you guys last month in September, the library, it took forever to get most of the spooky books I ordered. So I am continuing, my reading of spooky books. Like right now, I'm reading Belladonna. Yeah, Belladonna. And it's super, super good. It's awesome. I love it. So I've got the black and the orange, and I also picked stamp sets that I'm hoping are in stock or will be restocked. They are Studio Calico stamp sets, the pumpkin stamp set, and also the reading stamp set. And I love the grid black washi and also the orange, and I'm so excited to make pumpkins. Although I did notice that my solid pumpkin shape, the smaller one, is actually a hollow. So I think my stamp set was a goof, and I probably should have contacted customer service a long time ago. But I just realized it. Oops. Oh well. So I only have one solid type pumpkin, and that's okay. I'm just going to do a solid large one and then a smaller one, and I'll add some fun faces to the hollow ones. And I'm going to do something fun up at the top. Since October didn't start till Saturday, I'm going to add in some gray as the neutral. So my day dots will be neutral gray, and then I'll add in some gray stamped bats in a little bit. I added a box for Halloween, even though I didn't wind up finishing my book on Halloween. I was so mad, but I just did not have time to finish it on the 30th or the 31st. So this is where I took a piece of paper and stamped my pumpkins so they're kind of peekabooing, and then I added a bunch of faces peekabooing up top. And I'll use the outline of the pumpkins so that way I can outline the pumpkins and give them a little bit more definition and just let them pop off the page. I am going to take a paper flare and outline the bottom of the pumpkins just so that way it stands out a little bit more. So you can see I'm doing it right here. I just wanted to make sure that it was a really nice thick line so you can tell. It's like pumpkins on a fence. Wasn't that a preschool song, like pumpkins on the fence, 5 pumpkins sitting on the fence? I remember singing that to my kids all the time. I am filling in the 1 through 31, and then I can start to add in the rest of the stamping and also the books that I read during this month. Adding in those bats that I talked about, I did a bunch of them, and I'll also add in 2 book phrases as well. I just stamped 11 because, like I said, I read 11 books. I mean, technically, if we would get technical, it's probably 16 because of all the Caldecott books I read with my daughter, but I only counted 2 because they're kid books, so You guys, I already said this. I'm weird about this kind of thing. I stamped a spider and a skull, and now I'm writing out the books. So I finished The Dead Romantics on the 1st, and then I read several of the Caldecott books over the weekend with my daughter, but I only wrote down one because I didn't have enough room. I wrote down Finding Winnie, which is actually the true story about Winnie the Pooh and how it was inspired by a bear that was basically in World War II and in Canada training with the soldiers, and then wound up at the London Zoo. Very, very cool book. So cool. My daughter and I also read a book about the Transcontinental Railroad, which was fascinating and had lots of onomatopoeia in it. Such a good book. We've read some really great Caldecott books. So I am putting in the blocks for my reading, and I don't know if you can notice, but October was busy, and so most books took me a good chunk of time, like at least 4 days to finish. Just really not a lot of time to read, and just a busy season of life, and that's okay. So I am finishing up my boxes, and then I can go on to the stats. I finished the month with Ravenfall and Scandalized. Ravenfall was a middle school book that is actually talks about a hotel with supernatural and Halloween and all these fun things. And so that was a really awesome book that I could totally see being made into a movie. I loved it. It was really, really good book. And there's supposed to be another book coming out next year, so I'm looking forward to reading that book, and I've already got it on my list for next year's spooky reads. Yes, I already started my spooky reads list for next year. Because like I said, I still have a huge stack of library books, a huge stack. So I may just put some of them back and save them for next year. I am onto the stats page and stamping all the stats with the Feed Your Craft stamp set. And as you can see, I dropped the L a little bit ago, but it's not really going to matter since I stamped the T and A over it, and then you won't even be able to tell. And from there, I will work my way up from the bottom up. That way I have enough room for the pages. I'm going to go ahead and first kind of make sure that I have enough room for all my book covers and the book ratings. I put some washi down on the very bottom, but I am going to move it in a little bit and shorten it a little bit. That way I can get the book rating for Scandalized. So I'll go ahead and adhere everything down, and then once I get everything adhered down, I grab that book rating stamp set, or the little stamp that you can see off to the side. I grab that and make sure that I can fit that plus the dates. And that's when I'll do a little finagling. It's not a good word, finagling. I'll do a little finagling so that way everything can fit. These book covers start off at 1.5 inch tall and 1 inch wide. And then I just shrunk them down like 5% because I knew I had a lot of books to fit in there. So I just shrunk down the tape, I cut off a little piece and just readjusted it. Now I will put down pages and also the lines for it. And going forward next year, I probably will not be using this particular stamp set, or at least this stamp to make my lines. Because, all year long I've talked about how it's a box, so it has, the little pieces that stick up. So I have to use multiple pieces of paper to get it to stamp a straight line. But it kind of adds to the fun and like the whimsy and the homemade touch, with my fun little stamping there. So I read 3,509 pages. So it was a good month for books. So you can see for the genre lines, I drew, 2 pencil lines to help me, and that worked really well. I should have done that many months ago, but that helped. Now I get a little weird because I start writing the same genres over and over again. I get so mad at myself, I even yelled my name. I'm like, Sabrina, stop it. So I had to fix fantasy because I wrote that twice. So I fixed it with a scrap piece of paper and then wrote out Hollow, and then just trimmed off a little section to fit in the rest of Halloween. Then I tried to write paranormal again. So I had to cut another piece of paper so that way I could write chick lit because I didn't need, to repeat the genres. So I fixed those mistakes, and then I carried on and finished with magic and dark because I read kind of a dark romance. So now I'm going to do the boxes, and I already know my special categories that I'm going to do in the bottom 2 boxes. I'm going to do spooky reads, of course, and then my Goodreads number, because I go and I'm going to go back in a little bit and check, and the last month was July that I did that. So right here, I'm kind of checking to see when the last time I included that stat, and it was July. So I'm going to go ahead and include that one. And now I just need to stamp the different numbers. So I have 10 for paper and 1 for Kindle. This is another category I'm kind of reconsidering for next year because I don't tend to read a lot of Kindle books. I don't. And they tend to take longer, a lot longer, to get to me compared to regular books. Okay, so do you remember in the beginning I was talking about my Goodreads challenge? I kind of goofed myself up because all those little square boxes, I actually stamped 104. So as I'm adding this up, it's not making sense to me. I'm like, what is going on? This is not making sense. So eventually I just had to turn the camera off, take a deep breath, and count. It's like I'm doing long division with my daughter and like 3-step multiplication with my daughter, but for some reason I could not add up my books. I finally got it, triple checked it, and it's 98. So I'm really close to 100, which would be amazing. Last year was 112. So it'd be really great, but 100 is always amazing. Any books is amazing. I'm stamping some more of those cute little pumpkin faces, and then I'll do some more bats, and my last little touch is going to be some stars. I found another Studio Calico stamp set that has stars and then the outline. Also stamped just one more chapter because that goes along with reading past my bedtime, because that's what I do. Who needs sleep when you have a good book? Not me. Who cares about responsibilities, right? I just stamped the book rating, and then I will fill everything in with an orange pen. And like I said, I had a great month for reading. One of the first spooky books I read, I finished The Dead Romantics. That was interesting. Very interesting book. And then The Wretched Water Park was a middle school book, and that was really good. It was fun. It was a fun story. It went a little slow, but I really enjoyed it. And then my daughter recommended The Girl Who Drank the Moon, and that is going to be a favorite spread because that book was just magical. It made me feel like a little kid again with the fantasy and the story setting. It was just amazing. I absolutely loved it. And then Darling Venom was, like I said, the dark romance, and it was a fantastic book. I loved it. Same thing with Scandalized. That was a steamy romance. So if you're into steamy romances, there you go. And Ivana Iverson's Rules for Commuting, I loved that. That was a wonderful book about friendships and meeting people in the most unexpected places. Just some really great books in like a wide range of genres this month. So there you go. I have my October all updated, and I hope you've enjoyed another reading journal video. I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you're new to my channel. Thanks so much and have a great day. Bye.